my panels, shows. Uh, it's
Did you?
mainly because I feel the Web3 marketing is not fully properly represented in the space.
I agree.
So a lot of people think of it as it's some sort of hocus pocus magic, or it's
Yep.
a lot of shilling.
Yep.
And the truth is, there's a lot of fundamental points that the core teams all have. If you look at the best top 20 projects, 30 projects, the cream rises to the top, not
Yep.
because they accidentally stumbled on success. You're like, oh,
Sure.
we're top 20 now. Geez, that's great.
How did that happen? Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
but really because they had the proper way of structuring the foundation and think of
Yeah.
marketing as a building foundation. If you want to build a skyrise,
Yeah.
you want to have all the right, uh, placements, all the right materials in place before you can build.
Interesting. Let's jump on that real quick. So, for anyone who's jumping in right now, Art and I were just talking before, and I'm nerding out about this topic big time for reasons which we'll get into. But for those who don't know, Art Malkov is what I'm calling the billion-dollar marketer in crypto. And you can totally check out his VC or his CV and his background to verify some of this on LinkedIn. Check him out at Art Malkov. His name's right there. You can follow him there and see his history with IoTeX. You can see his history with Zilliqa. This is a credentialed person, but we're nerding out. I'm nerding out a little bit because he's going off and starting his own project, which we'll tease a little bit. But what we were just talking about, and I want to dive deeper into this because whether someone's in Web3 Art, and I don't know if you know much about my personal platform, it expands beyond Web3. It's a lot of small business people, and I've done a lot of small business coaching. But, big businesses or big projects are small projects that made it.
Correct.
And so what you were just talking about, and I want to continue with, is you were saying, the top 20 or so projects, they didn't get there by accident. They built a strong foundation. Could you give listeners or viewers like a few high-level points of what that foundation looks like of a successful or marketing a successful project? Like, what are the consistencies you see?
Sure. Yeah. So a few things that I noticed with Web3 or not Web3 is really comes down to founders understanding the value of not just marketing, but the right marketing team. So one thing, as I've seen in crypto specifically, there sometimes when you do token or you get your token, you get a lot of money quickly.
Oh, yeah.
You think you're that smart. So that's what I see a lot of projects. They go, oh, we're like, we have 100 million now or 50 million. That means we're smart. So it means everything we did before, which might be nothing in marketing, have worked. And a lot of it is because they don't have like a traditional background in marketing, or maybe they came from a large company and they bypassed it. Yeah.
So if I could interpret this, because, I was talking to both Jarrett and Jackie Roach on our interview. And Jackie and her partner, Rachel, they focus a lot on Web3 leadership. I focus a lot on, management. But what you're saying is something that we've said quite often in Web2. You get a big injection of capital and suddenly you think you're smart. Yeah. And it's probably compounded in Web3 because you didn't go through a VC necessarily. You didn't have to jump through the hoops and prove it with a slide deck. You just said, here's my project. And if you give me money, it confirms that we're awesomer than God. And so we just have to keep being awesome. and we need to dispel that because, when someone gets money like this, how long's their runway? Like when they do a token launch and get a bunch of money, how long can they last before there's signs that are showing that they don't know what they're doing from a marketing perspective? How long do you think they have?
So it can last for a little bit. But the thing is, there are multiple complexities here. Basically, if the team gets enough momentum, they're able to become hot for a second. So and that will give them a little bit more runway because the crowd is there, the token price might be held up, and that's the reality. If the project has a decent treasury, they do have some runway. Right? And the issue is also sometimes teams will grow too quickly or grow too quickly in a wrong direction. So maybe they'll grow their engineering team if they're engineer, the founder, but not grow their marketing team. So I've seen that more often than not.
Interesting.
It's runway can be a few years, can be but once you go 2-3 years and you realize there is no product in sight, right?
Yeah.
So there's unless you're an exchange or something that does with transactions, or you're selling the shovels.
Yeah.
They're like as an L1, you're not really making money directly on anything.
Yeah.
Unless you have an exchange once again, like, like Binance BNB chain, they have both. So for me, it's really, where do you, if you have the runway, you have to start planning marketing from the get-go. Or you're just gonna fall on your face now, or in 100 meters from now, right? Or a year or 2 years from now. And once you're already in that trajectory, it's like a momentum, you're in that down trajectory, it's super hard to change that momentum. And then a lot of companies, especially if you're a crypto project in top 200, top 100, top 300, you have to be very careful. Once you get the momentum, it's very hard to change, because your audiences, your people are going to be pretty much, not happy.
Oh, yeah. Well, and, we've been talking a lot. I've been talking a lot to my people that, Web3 marketing for the small business owner who might not have these budgets. And I have a web design company, and we've got a couple hundred clients, and we're doing an IRL event at the end of the quarter. And it's the first one we've done since the pandemic. And I'm telling them the title of this is community marketing, which is what I'm calling kind of marketing 3.0 following Web 3.0. And the idea of a community is like, when's the best time to start a community? Well, 2 years ago. The second best time is right now. And so what you're saying is as you're doing your burn rate and spending on devs and trying to get to a product, and when they have these revelations, then they go, well, maybe we need to build a platform and an audience and a community. And it's like, bro, like, you got a sinking ship. You've got like, you got 18 months before your community's mature and trusting you, So let's go back real quick, because you deserve to let your light shine on this. Like, you stepped in, you have a long history as a CMO, over 15 years, it looks like, from what I was looking at your resume. You stepped into IoTeX. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, IoTeX, yeah.
How mature was their marketing when you stepped in?
So yeah, and I'll talk a little bit about my history so people understand. So I came from digital marketing. My basis was SEO and content in the beginning, then UX edit over time, then Google Analytics, conversion. So I actually seen the whole 360, which is not super unusual, because I was able to dive deep in not all of them, but some of the elements. And I was at some points I would be considered like an expert on, let's say, content and voice and branding, expert on SEO, like that. I was go-to guy. And then we did ads, never like fully, like still did some hands-on, but never fully as committed. So I have a full understanding. I love analytics. To me, it's all about data-driven decisions. And so when I moved from Web 2 to Web 3, which have been a while, and blockchain, I've been for about over 6 years now, maybe 7. And the shift was different. There are communities, there are more PR focused, there are more community. How do you communicate with external ecosystem of crypto? Because it's different from traditional marketing to a degree. And so when I step into IoTeX through, I also was the head of marketing at Apollo Market at some point. It was a major prediction market. So with IoTeX, me stepping in, it was more of, I saw a really amazing product. They had a great, those that don't know, it's a kind of smart device ecosystem, connecting various smart devices that could be because cars can be potentially, taking your data and making your insurance cheaper. So things like that.
But almost real time, which was the original theory of IOTA, right? Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
It's exactly. It's the failed vision of IOTA. IOTA ultimately did not go anywhere, but IoTeX actually had the technical acumen to do that. So they had a great, like, they won their UCAM, it's blockchain camera. They won in 2020 one of the biggest awards in I think it's the biggest show in the world, like tech show.
Wow.
And now not
CES?
CES, yes.
Yes, usually in Las Vegas, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. So they won the award for most secure blockchain camera out of camera in 2020. Nobody knew of that. So when I came in, I'm like, okay, why are we not talking about this?
Yeah.
This is literally the biggest news. Like, it's the actual device that won an award at a non-blockchain show for, which means it was so secure that it was blew like hundreds of other devices that competed for that award out of the water.
Wow, that is impressive. In 2020, especially.
In 2020, yes. So that we were already talking a few years ago. So, but I was there, had a market in 2021, so it was still fresh. So so I came in and I said, okay, where's the team? And they had some teams, but it was ad hoc team. So what I had to do is I had to build out the full grown team, like the big boy team, for them to be, when I came in, there were like maybe around top 200 projects.
Okay.
So they weren't tiny, but they were not in the top 100.
Yes.
And that's ultimately very important, because you will find that projects will escalate, but generally you need to hit your next high, because it's not only conversation point, it also allows you to, if you have ecosystems, if you have token, allows you to, like, if you look at any large project, let's say Avalanche or Near, whenever their token goes high, all of a sudden they have new budget, right? So ecosystem budgets to grow their ecosystem. So it's very important to have those highs, even at some point they will go to much lower.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When you describe this from a marketing and messaging perspective, it kind of sounds like if it's done right, Web3 companies have more control than a Web2 company that's traded on the open market, because by the time you're an IPO'd company, there's so much market sentiment and institutional money that drives the value of your stock. But here it sounds like if you're doing it right, you have far more control of driving a positive sentiment on your token and thus growing your treasury. I mean, would you say that's accurate or not accurate?
I would say it's not only accurate, but you can actually grow much faster in a proper market, like up market, than in traditional company. And then you have a lot more control, because you don't have to report with your, like if you're stock, you have to report everything. Whereas here, if your token does well and it's, it's a utility, you have a lot more control to grow your whole. So you can amplify your growth. That's why. Wow. I'm not gonna go to the other part, how the shillers grow very fast, but the core teams that grow really good project grow very fast is generally because they're able to catch that wave. It's like surfing. You have to catch the wave and then you surf. And if there is a wave, the waves are coming, right? An NFT, the DeFi, it's up to you to catch the metaverse. Catch those waves. And if you don't have the marketing team, it's like basically you don't have the skills to serve. So you're just gonna tumble off your surfboard. So you are very unlikely to get just lucky. Just lucky is not enough. It's the likelihood is you have to be able to get there and know how to surf. And that's the real at IoTeX was a big part for me, is to move away from the technical terms we were using. So we were very IoT centric. And move toward the vision or the future, like show what we're really building, what's the future. Which, by the way, to give credit to IOTA, they were very good at that. I would say they're one of the better shillers in the space. And so IOTA, heads to you. You may be too good of a shiller. So that's why
I held a lot of IOTA for a long time, and I was a big fan of the vision. And but it just seemed like they didn't hit PR dates. They weren't announcing any rollouts. It didn't seem like they were, riding waves like you were saying. And so it lost steam,
Well, they were riding waves really well. The problem is they never delivered.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So after a couple of years, people get tired. So like their promise of 2017 and like when I was looking back at 2021, but even now it's not much different. It's basically, it's like soon, soon coming soon. And at some point, people, even the most nostalgia supporters, they're like, okay, when are smart contracts? What are we doing? And but basically, they did a good job. So with the IoTeX case, it was actually the opposite. They built the technology, they focused on technology, they made sure they had that. But then how do they rate it and bring it to the audience? That's where the weakness was.
And so you came on, and your first real action when they brought you in is to build out this team, and you had the budget to build out the marketing team.
Correct.
What was the critical first hire? Like, I mean, not just the first hire, but when you hired that role or that person, whether it was their intrinsic skill or whether it was the role you were filling, which role really started to give you momentum towards this level of growth you had?
It's a great question. So for them, it was a basically strong content person, like in-house content person,
Really?
because they had content people, but they were not full in-house, or
Yeah.
they were sharing roles with other things. And so we were just brought in
Interesting.
full content person that, and then thing is, they had amazing designers already. It just
Sure.
the element was you have to guide that vision. So
Yeah.
if you have a great designers, but your vision is boring IoT machines,
Yeah.
then you're gonna have really beautiful boring IoT machines. So
And where, I mean,
really,
was the
yeah.
message, was the audience, the target audience was shifting from like technical people to like more retail people? Like what was the shift in the messaging?
It was a mix. So we are a three-sided marketplace.
Mm,
They were at IoTeX. So basically, we were the customers, the businesses,
mm,
and the developers.
mm.
And before that, we actually were very good talking to developers. So
Okay.
their messaging was to developers. But thing is, customers, and this is what secret for everybody here in Web3. Ultimately, no matter how much you focus on developers, you have to also make your customers happy. They
Yeah.
have to be excited. They have to be thrilled about what's gonna coming next. How do you narrate it? How the emotion. So it's really emotional. There has to be emotional feel.
Yeah.
And if you look at any successful project like Ethereum, right, there are Vitalik Buterin, unicorns, all those things, and there are Solana, beautiful colors,
Hmm.
a lot of emotional uh, conversation that connected to that dry technology, and you
Yeah.
have to almost use it as a lubricant of communication.
Yeah. Well, and so I love Polygon, and Polygon actually, under the hood, they're making huge corporate contracts. They're making a lot happen. But what I crave is for a good marketing team to make me salivate at the retail level.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they've got, what are they, Starbucks, Odyssey, and Adidas, and everyone, like these big companies are building on them,
Hmm.
but they're really building on them from the layer two. And I'm wondering if their marketing department's getting a little lax because you know what, we'll coast on these institutional contracts for a while. Meanwhile, retail people, I'm like, I really want to see like what this means for me, the end
Yeah.
user, and they're not touching it. So I'm like, what's going on? They're doing something great. I mean, Polygon's doing great, but I still want to hear more, I guess. I want to salivate for their project, if that makes sense, like Solana or any of these other people, but I don't
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah. I
So,
completely agree. I agree with you. It's a projects need both.
yeah,
You have to have technical side, or basically you just
guy.
noise.
Yeah.
But you also have to have this side that packages the technical side, that's basically prepares you to serve better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, you need that wax for your board to make
Do
sure
you
you will
surf?
go
Do you
further.
surf?
I served a bit, yes.
So, like, I'm in Florida and I grew up surfing, and I use surfing as a metaphor all the time. And when people are in New York, you very rarely get a New Yorker to like talk about surfing as a metaphor, but it makes like you're talking to me. I don't know how many other people in the audience get it, but I totally get it. I'm like, yeah, man, you do need wax. Yeah,
It's
that's funny.
well, I spent some time in Costa Rica at some point,
Okay.
so that's where I really had more time to
Yeah.
acclimate and warm up to surfing from New
Yeah,
York.
man. So real quick, Jarrett asked, this is Jarrett. Jarrett asked, do you think Web3 startups need more marketing budget than Web2 companies? That's a good question. What do you think?
Um, I honestly, depending on the stage scale, but generally no. Um,
Interesting.
Generally, because you have the higher hype factor. So meaning, it's a. I'll give you another water sailing analogy, not surfing,
Yeah.
but basically, think of it as every project is a sailing boat, or a
Yeah.
large sailing boat, or even caravella, like the ginormous boats from back 1500s.
Yeah.
And so each one of them has a sail. So the bigger the project is, the let's say you're a little startup, you
Hmm.
have a little bit of a napkin, like that tiny sail, like tiny sail, uh, and then but if the wind is strong, it can still go far.
Yeah.
So in
Yeah.
crypto and Web3 specifically, you tend to have wind that's very strong, and so you can actually go much faster and longer. in a
Yeah.
proper dynamic with less money. So that's why a lot of you see those DAOs and things. They raised a lot of money with
Lots of
almost
money.
no marketing. So
Mhm.
which shows you in the up market, you don't need that much money and you can really do crazy ROI. Even
Yeah.
IoTeX, I can tell you that we didn't we were strategic in spending. So
Yeah.
when I came in, we did have a budget, but it wasn't massive by budget by no means. It
Yeah.
just we used it more strategically, and the timing to show our product to many different people has really helped. So
Yeah.
we used at the time we used some strategies like NFTs.
Mhm.
As a like one of the campaign we did was, they filled out our contact form, and did certain actions such as follow us on Twitter, join Discord, download wallet, they would get a free NFT.
Yeah.
And when we tested it, we found if you just ask them to give you a news email, some people would, but many wouldn't.
Okay.
But when we asked you to do those steps and you get an NFT at some point,
Yeah.
and it was not like custom NFT. I mean, it was custom NFT, but anybody could
Sure.
get it, right? So it was
Yeah.
just a serial number. We increased our sign up ratio by 800%,
Oh, get out.
just based on one little element. Yeah.
Wow. So, okay, that leads to the next question I had on this because, so for those who are just popping in, we've been talking for a while. We're talking about IoTeX because this was a major change in your career, really, where he took a company from about 200 million to $2 billion, or rode with
Market
them.
cap, yeah.
Yeah. And built out their marketing team. But really, the number that I love is the 2,000% increase in engagement. Am I getting that correct?
Correct. Yeah. It's in fact, I think I have there's a video somewhere on YouTube, but basically where we did our end of the year for 2021.
Yeah.
And I'm going over what we did, and
Yeah.
like literally like 2,000% engagement was actually sometimes
Wow.
on the low side. Some of them were
Yeah.
3,000, 4,000. I think our highest was 5,000% engagement.
Yeah.
To give you an example, we went from 3,000 mailing lists back in right after when I joined, because there was no focus on mailing lists. They were just doing doing different things. The marketing stack in terms of tools we were using wasn't that great. We really built out in-depth marketing stack, and that allowed for a massive onboarding ability. So what basically it allowed us to have a bigger sale.
Yeah.
And when we got the win, we were able to really get a lot of wins. So we went from 3,000 subscribers to our mailing list in, I think it was June 2021.
Yeah.
By December, we hit, I think, close to over 100,000, like 115,000, I think. So,
and how much of that do you think was attributed to getting on this NFT giveaway strategy?
Not so much. I mean, some of it for sure. Like some of it was strong. We did a very strong campaign. At some point, it was CoinMarketCap. We did a learn, and that was very successful as well.
Interesting.
So it's really we're able to capitalize on every time we had an opportunity. We're able to capitalize it. But sure, it helped because let's say you heard this name right during the 2021. We were number one token based on Lunar Crash, which tracks social media activity like shares, tweets. We were over 10 times number one token over Bitcoin, over Ethereum, over Solana. And that's 2021, right? the height of the market. And to be like over 10 times, like close to a dozen times, number one for that day, was really impressive from my perspective. So, and the objective was, so when we do that, there's a lot of awareness at that moment. And so that's when that conversion really helps. When that 800% really helps. When you have, instead of 1,000 people, or like at some point we were getting, over 100,000 people in traffic, like a day in traffic, right?
Yeah.
And some of those crazy months, like it was crazy days where we went just insane across unique users, wallets. Because now we're capturing to, not only are we people coming into the website and they just, okay, that's cool, and they leave, but we also had a good capturing people to bring them into the ecosystem, which was, I think, very crucial.
So, you know, let me ask you this. I deal, like I mentioned, a lot with a lot of small businesses. And, you know, we could probably dive into like Stack. And I happen to talk to a lot of marketers because honestly, whether it's Web3 or Web2,
Yeah.
I believe, especially, and I don't know how you feel about this, I don't care what size business you're in the coming days with AI and synthetic media or artificial media,
Hmm.
community as your brand is almost more important than ever before. So even if you're a local landscaper, I'm telling them you need to become a brand of one. You need to be on camera, you need to be engaged, you need to have community events, you need to be there. A lot of people might listen to you speak and go, okay, Art's amazing. He started with a $200 million company. So what was his budget? And start dismissing your successes because you had budget to roll with. My question to you is this: what is your advice, or where do you see small businesses or small projects leaving money on the table or not taking actions they even could with little to no budget? Like, okay, so you might not be able to onboard a content person like I did, but you can at least do A or B or
Yeah.
C. What are the misses you see for small businesses?
So thankfully, I actually back in the day, I spoke at a Wix. They invited me for their small businesses. It
Okay.
was like many years ago, but it was before the crypto. But basically, I think I remember asking how many of you have marketing budget, and almost nobody had raised their hand.
Mm-mm.
So the first thing they need is just some budget, just like literally saying, we're gonna take like whatever they earning, they take, even if it's few percent
Yeah.
of total. It could be as little as $1,000, $2,000 a year, and not, so they don't have to think every time. Oh, do I need this service? Do I need this subscription service for that or that? Because owners oftentimes take every dollar as to their personal money.
Yeah.
But they
Yes.
need to separate that. They need to realize that, you know what, we're growing, and so far we maybe stumble on growth, even if we're a small business.
Yeah.
But do we have a budget? And by the way, that applies to crypto as well. In fact, very much so, because crypto companies is in a way are small companies, small businesses,
Yeah.
because they never had to build out that infrastructure of proper growth.
Okay.
So they don't even have marketing budget oftentimes. So more often than not, I had to come in and I had to build it in. Like it applies to IoTeX and others when I had to come in and say, let's create a marketing budget. Like what? So I don't have to go and say, who do we need to hire? If we need to hire editors or something, I don't need to be clearing it with anybody. And that's for founder. It's also they clearing it with themselves. Every time they see that $10 a month, they're like, oh man, oh, do I need this? Or and the reality is you do. You do need to have some sort of marketing stack. And if you have $2,000 allocated for your marketing, you won't have an issue if somebody comes in and tells you, we can do this, creator push for you for $500 because you already have the budget. But if you don't, then every transaction becomes like exercise and overthinking, and usually futility, because that's not the money that will affect you.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, so let me ask you this. You're mentioning this, and I appreciate this, allocate any budget you can. And then the next question that a small business owner should be asking is like, well, to what? And the answer I project is, well, you got to experiment with what works.
Yeah.
Is it all experimentation? Or like if you were to walk into a new project, you know exactly how you'd start? Is there like tried and true, this always works, or is it always experimentation?
So it's a mix. So when earlier in my career, especially when like something new technology comes out, experimentation is very big. But ultimately, there are certain tried and true things, and tried and true, like you should have mailing lists versus not having mailing lists, right? Some
Sure.
basic stuff like that, but it's not basic to many. That's the craziest thing. You see, so there are tried and true. There would be, to me, own your own blog. Like, don't use Medium. Like, Medium will kill you, because every time somebody links out to you and they link into your Medium eats your SEO. Don't ever use your Medium. Like,
Interesting.
So crypto company, if you're a crypto company, and I'm talking to you, and you're using Medium, you are, if you, whatever you're spending for PR, you're wasting money. You're probably shooting like 80% of that money out of the window, because a lot of those PR could also help your overall site to rank better. So you see, so That's to me immediately. I go in and I go, look, do they have Medium? Domains, I think I mentioned it earlier, don't use XYZ. There is a lot of issues with that and baggage. And if you don't want to be blocked by spam filters everywhere and wonder why my email not going through, just don't use XYZ. If you want to do that, go ahead, do it. But understand that your conversion about probably going to be after 2 messages would be 50% less deliverability than any other extension.
That's huge.
It's massive. So like as simple as that, like use.io.com, .app, whatever. Like my personal is .io because it's Web3 affiliated, but also it doesn't have the spam problem. So it's clean. Whereas in .xyz, they sold, they're doing like $1 discounts.
Yes.
And all the spammers just buy them up as burners. And they use it and they're like, oh, like no matter how cool it is it worth losing half of your traffic? Based on not necessarily traffic in visitors, but traffic in your emails when you're sending out contact email, trying to do communication. And the larger you get, it's like having a hole in your boat. Like the larger you get, the more flooded you get. So that's interesting. And then Owen Healy, I don't know if you know Owen. He's a recruiter for web. Owen, what are you saying with Dan Thomas? Do you know who he's referring to with Dan Thomas? I don't know what he's referring to. I am not sure, but I know Owen. Yeah, so he actually, I believe he got me into Zilliqa.
Oh, he did mention that to me. So you guys are buddies. Hey, Owen, tell us what you mean by
call out to you. Thanks for the set.
So, being a Web 2 website design company, and we're making the bridge into Web 3, learning how to token gate and do NFTs with websites and stuff. We do you find like a big headache for email campaigns is the email filter, specifically in Outlook? Outlook has atrocious email filters for spam. Do you find, because of this trend of spammers buying up XYZ domains, is there like blowback on this where the spam filters within Google, Outlook, and these email services is a little higher for those extensions? So
for sure. Oh, yeah. I spoke to a number of IT professionals. And in fact, recently I spoke to a guy who runs IT infrastructure for many like mobile companies. And they just block XYZ outright. They don't even look at you.
Nuts.
You just straight up blocked as an extension.
And, and a lot of my clients, they're like, hey, what's going on? My emails won't get delivered. And I'm like, we try to whitelist them. But at that point, if they're just outright blocking, you're like trying to put your thumb in a dam. You're like, it's just like, you're barely fixing this.
You're going to sink at some point. If you have that hole in your, and the thing is in Web3, the reason why I think XYZ did like at least in sort of name in Web3 is because, like I said, people don't realize marketing here. They raise a lot of money. They didn't do the core marketing. They don't realize that if you do mailing list on IO, for example, versus XYZ, you will get a lot more emails out. So your scale, you will get better flywheel growth. And for me, it's more about don't ever use anything that doesn't help you in the beginning of marketing. Be it Web 2 or Web 3. Every single thing in the beginning has to help you, such as domain it has to help you, such as your blog platform. Medium to me is like fast food. What Medium is? You get a burger, you McDonald's, get me fries, supersize it. Yes, supersize it. Triple size it. Come on.
Yeah.
Look at me. Do I look better, healthier? Let's go.
Well, a lot of people that are solopreneurs are, swear by Medium because for some reason, it seems like social proof. Maybe Medium does its messaging very well. That if you're a tech person, you have a tech blog, or you're saying something smart, it's going to be on Medium. But these are often solopreneurs not building up a product and maybe not even building up a service. So if they can live over there, that's okay.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're a single solopreneur, no big deal. But if you're planning to scale, if you're planning to grow, if you're getting PR, if you have marketing budget and you're going to be bigger, the sooner you switch, the better, because every time you get PR, every time somebody writes you, mentions you, and they link to your media. Not only that, like even if we get the SEO value, by the way, don't forget SEO value.
SEO value,
Even if we get SEO value, Medium steals your clients. Like if you ever go to Medium page, you click on Medium, they don't take you to your homepage.
Yeah.
They show Medium, they promote your competitors right on sidebar, and in the footer, they hide your links. If you want to highlight something, it's very hard to show it.
Interesting.
You don't have a lot of tools and subconscious anchors that you can have in your site. If you ever go to IoTeX.io/blog, you can see the difference. They used to be on Medium. So the first thing I did when I came in, I moved them from Medium to our own platform.
Wow.
And Medium does its own, like basically Medium is fast food. And if you don't do any better research, Medium is good enough. And if you're a solopreneur, it's probably good enough for you anyway. Like if you're just one guy or a girl just hanging out and doing her own thing, no problem. But if you're planning to scale, if you're building a company, and the sooner you switch to something white label, I suggest ghost.org. It allows you to white label your own.
What is that?
Blog, ghost.org.
I don't even know Ghost. I should know this. I'm gonna write this down. And this is a white label. This is white label blogging.
Yeah. It's literally you can do it like subdomain for your own site. If you go to IoTeX.io/blog, you will see how it looks. That's on Ghost.
Okay, I'm totally gonna check that out.
Likewise for Zilliqa, that's what I came in. I changed it. They were a Medium as well. Now they are blog.zilliqa.com.
See, that's wild. I've never even heard of this, and I usually try to stay up on this stuff. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. You can make it beautiful blogs. You don't have to worry about like WordPress where you get hacked. You don't have to manage, be afraid of that stuff. Yeah.
Interesting. So, what do you nerd out about? Like when it comes to marketing and you step into a project, okay, you've got your punch list, you got the Art Malkov approach, and you can turn something around. But like, what could you lose yourself in? What do you love about this industry, about this niche of marketing?
I think for me, it's actually when I'm stopping a project, I want to look at their analytics. I want to see it because they never do. Like that's the craziest thing. I worked with so many projects, and not necessarily user analytics. So that one is generally people are on top of. But I'm talking about like your website analytics, your flow analytics, your engagements, your conversions, or do we have conversions? Do we set up KPI points, triggers where we know when they're submitting a form, when they're going through pages? Do we know what is our value? What is our ultimate objective, and where do we drive them? So really creating funnels and moving through different funnels and understanding that probably we missed something that can. Like at IoTeX, that's what we did. That's how we hit thousands of growth points because I looked at things that already worked to some degree, and then we dialed to a 9, like basically, and then fix things that didn't work. Like for example, having our own blog. So I'll give you another. Going back to analytics. Yeah, Medium doesn't give you proper analytics. It gives you some bullshit garbage. Okay. So if you want to have a proper analytics, you got to have your own blog. So on Ghost, you have your full analytics. So, and not only that, Google treats your analytics for SEO. So the longer people spend on your page, the more likely that Google going to rank you across all your pages. Yeah. Medium steals your blog. It means Medium steals your engine. So think about the blog as your car engine. And so if you want to scale, you need to have your biggest engine possible. And and the reality is the Medium is literally just like renting out engine to you.
Oh, wow. So like you're writing long form. I mean, does long form truly work better?
It does work better to a degree. So, but it's also engagement. If you're just writing boring BS, like no one will care. So Google looks at engagement and how much people spend on page. Yeah. But here's the thing: if you're on Medium, right? Google doesn't know. Google credits Medium for that, not you.
Yeah. Yeah. So like even your backlinks don't matter that much relative.
It doesn't matter at all because it steals your backlinks. It's like a nuclear bomb. Think about it. Everything you do, you're literally selling it to Medium, and it doesn't even paying you.
Holy cow. So, I mean, I've always had an inkling of this, but I have never seen or thought about this under the hood that it was that big of a deal. So like nearly all of our websites for small business clients are on WordPress, mainly because I feel like I have a lot more granular control of, schema markup and SEO and compared to like Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, I do. I don't know about Ghost.
That's great. And I agree with you. WordPress is better than, if you have the ability and control, it's better than Wix and Squarespace because you have so many plugins and things that can amplify your. Like I love WordPress, except for projects that just need blog, like crypto projects, I suggest Ghost because WordPress also, unless you're really on top of it, which many projects are not. Correct. Sometimes you might get hacked. Yes. And that's like unless like yourself, you're managing their views and that's great. That's one thing. So I definitely agree that WordPress is amazing.
Now, when it comes to analytics, because you nerd out about it, like this isn't just Google Analytics or Ghost's Analytics. Do you have like nuanced tools you do to really look at analytics?
Yes. So I like Hotjar. So it's
Yes.
basically the
Love
heat
Hotjar.
maps. Here's the funny part. I used to be a lot more into high, very specific analytics. By the way, in Google Analytics you can do a lot of stuff there. If you really do customization, I prefer Google Analytics because most companies already have them.
Yeah.
So you don't need to. So generally, when we might need Hotjar on top, we might create our own custom, anchors to make sure we track everything properly.
Yeah.
But in Web 2, I was much more about more custom tools. In Web 3, I find Google Analytics, even that is not being used. So whenever I come in, I'm like, okay,
any improvement's a good improvement.
Yeah, literally, any improvement is good improvement, because also in crypto, when you're growing really fast, you don't have time to do that much in depth. You still need to create content as a head of marketing. So I look at the analytics more of like, what are we, testing out different campaigns and hypotheses.
Yes.
I see, are we performing well? And if we are, let's make it a constant feature, right? Maybe that's one campaign, one up where we're testing it. Maybe are we doing retargeting, remarketing, those points. So all the things that normally Web3 don't do, we did that at IoTeX. So, and all together, blog, that proper content, energy, who we're targeting for, it was complete redo of the vision. And
So you rolled. So I think now's a good time to talk to you about your project. You went from this amazing success, and then you were interim at Zilliqa for a while and helped bridge them. And now you're working at Columbia. Is it Columbia's incubator?
I'm working with Columbia Web3 Accelerator, an incubator.
You're working with the accelerator, but you've got your own project coming up with a nuance that you're seeing as a huge gap, specifically with content creators.
Right.
So what can you tell us about this new project that you're working on?
So I'll give you a little bit of a why I'm working on it. So it's been so think why I'm working on it is in every crypto project I've been in, any project at some point will need some sort of influencers or create KOLs, because they need to, because YouTube or generally is like a TV of crypto.
Yes.
It's influencers and creators are your tap to growth. And if you're not tapping into that, likely you're going to have a much harder time growing. So therefore I found I would literally have in-house at any project I've been, Polymarket, IoTeX, Zilliqa, I would have in-house my own outreach person. I call them connectors. Yeah. Okay. So that's another role that people actually know officially, but I had to create that role. I don't know if people have it, but
this connector role.
Connector role, yeah.
Okay.
So that connector would be connect you to creators, connect you to conferences, connect to any other opportunities, and you can just be like, or medias. So it's like a ad hoc communication, not quite biz dev, not quite PR, but all in one connector.
Okay.
So I figured it was very important and to have connector to reach out to influencers. Why? Okay. Because if you try to go find them on your own, it's super hard. So it's actually very time consuming. As many companies, via Web3, you know that. Yeah. So this person is literally does that on an ongoing basis, because if you go to managers, they not going to allow you to communicate properly with influencers. It's going to be expensive, but also they will be like, well, just tell them what they should talk about. But so you're not able to actually properly position your content strategy and voice. And I thought that was very important when I was working with all the projects. Like, to me, content marketing with the creators, KOLs, they call them influencers. I like more influencer because everybody gets it.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe they're key opinion leaders, but if people don't get it, so to me, it was a critical shift of like every company actually needs it. And even if they don't realize that they need it, they need a person like that. But it's extremely redundant. Like every Web3 company having that, doing the same thing over and over, reinventing the wheel. Literally every company is like trying to build out a new wheel. Like, how do we build this? Is it square? Is it? So ultimately, to finish my story, I saw then for me, the kind of this breakthrough moment came in when I saw, and I was thinking for the last probably a year or 9 months, like softly, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm busy. I'm advising. I'm Columbia keeps me busy. You know, accelerator projects are always busy. So it's like, but then I saw Sam Bankman-Fried. I saw that, you know, Terra Luna, Celsius, Sam Bankman-Fried, and what they all have in common. They have charismatic leaders who are shillers. They're the best shillers in the world. They literally prove that. If there was Olympics for shillers, these guys won it.
If there are Olympics for shillers, these guys win it. Okay.
Nailed it. That Olympic for shillers is that they just bam, they landed it. They did a somersault and they landed the spot. There should be gold, silver, and bronze spread out through those two guys. But there's also smaller shillers. Yeah. And their shillers are, what I found is in this market or 2017-18, it's always whenever there's a market, the people who communicate better, they're shillers.
Yes.
They get the rise to the top. And I really like what you said about confidence. Maybe you want to recap on that. That was
Before we got on the call, I just mentioned to Art that a con man, and we know the term con man because they're pulling a con, but we forget that the origin of this term was a confidence man. Someone who, the reason someone gave them the money in their pocket is that he was able to imbue confidence in them, in him or whatever he was talking about. So a con man is a confidence man. But that means that even people who are doing good are confidence men. And, you know, Steve Jobs, whether he was good or bad, is still up in the air, but he had this distortion bubble where he could imbue people in the confidence in a future that had yet to exist. So that was kind of the context there. So you're saying that these guys were huge confidence men, con men. And so you're seeing a lack of what? People that could do that same thing for good?
Yeah, like, well, not necessarily lack of, but like the people who do it well, they're already doing well. You know, like the Solanas and others. There are like a project that are out there that doing it well. Yeah. And Chainlink, you know, their founders gets it. So they're there. But then there is a lot of technical projects which I spoke to. You know, so I saw it as a advisor. I saw a lot of projects going, oh, we need some marketing, and they don't know the first thing of it because maybe they raised some money, but they don't. Going back to our conversation. And thing is, influencer is very important part of the marketing. And if there is no way easily to bridge the gap between the shillers who will figure out influencers anyway, they're going to have a team probably reaching. They're going to have Tom Brady's and Kevin O'Leary's of the world and such. Maybe not to that level, but still they're going to have. They'll be able to get the top people. And then we have the more tech person. And so what my vision is really the bridging it. And the bridge is having a marketplace between businesses and kind of having the expressway. So bridging between the businesses and Web3 influencers. So only Web3 influencers in different categories, in different ecosystems like Near or Avalanche, you know, so business can go, oh, I need gaming influencer who can spotlight problems with that. And I have really cool game and I'm willing to pay the person. It's just, I cannot find them. I don't know where to look. And they tend to go for much larger people. So if you see gaming influencers, you'll go for the top guys. But the top guys, unless you already have somebody knows you, they're not gonna work with you. So you need to start with educational. And so, by the way, and to talk about expressway and then kind of getting businesses an expressway from the slow lane, the name of the project will be expressway.io.
Expressway.io. And is that landing page up or is anything up?
Yeah, the landing page just came up literally right before consensus. It's very much we'll give everyone a bit of a feel what it is about, but really, I don't want to call it myself like not for profit because obviously it's going to be for profit business. But I really feel the friction right now is so great. Like, so you have between just getting analytics, going back to analytics, from influencer to the business. There's a lot of friction. If you're working with a creator, you get literally screenshots of like performance. I have got it, and you have to ask for it. So that's and my approach is really removing 80-20, removing 80% of friction at every point. Payments is very hard right now, because you'll go to influencer, you gotta negotiate, gotta go back and forth, how much you want, how much you want. Here, idea is clarity. Here's how much they're gonna pay. Expressway.io.
I apologize. Let me pull that
Sorry.
down. Thank you.
Yes.
Keep going.
So it's really goes back to it goes back to the issue of Expressway. So check it out, expressway.io. And the big issue for me has been, and then the other part is trust. Like, who pays who first, right? Let's say you agree to
escrow or whatever.
We're gonna do more version of escrow. So basically, until they deliver, you're paying, but we already have the money. But until they deliver, you're not. Because I literally at Consensus, I spoke to somebody, and the guy goes, my head of marketing doesn't let me pay up front, and so creators think that we're scamming them, and there's that weird elements that who do we trust who. So it's really taking a lot of issues and removing 80% of friction, 80%, and allowing to, and also you don't need that part-time person anymore. You can just have that person. I'm
blown away that this doesn't already exist, or does it exist, just not specifically for Web3?
Correct. It doesn't exist in Web3. There is a very general market. Here's the problem. What I found when working with influencers and creators in the space, especially bigger ones, they want to know who they're working with. They have a lot of trust. They're not going to go like, if Pepsi pays you, you're going to be cool. Here, they want to know the project. So I believe that was part of the problem, because you can't just have them pay. They have to green light the project. So the creator and the idea, and that's also going to be built in the marketplace. They're going to be certain flow where it doesn't exist. Yeah, if you Google Web3 creator marketplace or influencer marketplace, it doesn't exist.
Wow, that's interesting. So how far away from you how far away are you from a version 1 that people can engage with?
There are going to be a few steps. Like we're likely going to be we already have creators on a platform who we spoke to, and they're happy to work. But we're actually going to first, we're going to raise money.
Sure. So
likely the launch we're looking is right now is early fall maybe. But reality is we are looking to scale it up properly. And like I said, for me, it was only recent green light. So I have thought on this problem for a while. I have thought, should I do or not? And ultimately, Sam Bankman-Fried was the green light.
Pushed you over the edge.
I was in a panel literally on December in Benzinga. So I was speaker there. Yeah. And Kevin O'Leary spoke right before me.
Oh, wow.
And Kevin O'Leary was spokesman for FTX, right? So he was apologizing there. And like, I didn't mean that. Oh, well, the money, I didn't get my money either. So he's like sweating and, he didn't sweat. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean? Like he's in a hot spot. He's like apologizing. Yeah. And I'm my panel literally right after him. Yeah. So he was a warm up for us. That's good.
So like going to your fundraise real quick, like what's going to be, are you just going to do a deck, and you're obviously very well connected at this point just because of your history and the way you've served. Do you feel like it's going to be an easy raise, or do you expect some challenges? I mean, it's a down market, but regardless.
I think it will be not a hard raise. I like, honestly, it's very needed. Yeah. And I'm not sure if I'm going to go to VCs. It might be just, angels or ecosystem specifically.
Yeah.
Because
ecosystem specific. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a lot of connections in that space as well. So I don't think it's going to be a hard raise, mainly because it's needed, and it would be harder if I went to VCs and they're like, well, how are you going to solve? How are you going to be a unicorn? I'm like, well, maybe I won't be a unicorn.
Yes.
But I'll be able to make immediately that revenue. It starts to create a revenue from day one.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's basically transactional at that point with every transaction. And so like, are you still going to go, even though you're not going to VCs first, family and friends, angel round, something like that, or ecosystem, which is brilliant. Are you going to still like do the thing, do the deck, do the dog and pony show, that sort of approach?
I try to minimize that. So we're going to build out on the back end. So Expressway is going to be our page. So if you want to stay up to date, go to expressway.io, because you'll be able to, you'll get email notifications as we get, developments and such. So basically anybody who's curious, be that a B2B, just curious, or you're a creator, this is a way to go. But we're going to be building out also parallelly stealth mode where we're already doing. We're building out the marketplace itself.
Good.
So
Great.
basically, any potential investor will be able to go in and play around and see what creators we're talking to.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
are we dealing with? You'll be able to see how it's going to look like. So
Yeah.
that's the part where, like, we're gonna have a deck, but I'm really, I already. By the way, I've been approached to give it.
Sure.
I like people are like, okay, I have money. Are you raising because we can write something out right now? And I say no because I really want to have the full like already laid out MVP, and then we'll just go and say, okay, we're ready, and then we go. I'm building out right now the core CTO teams. I built out already the core marketing teams, the content person, the connector. They're all part of the team.
Sure. That's good. That's huge, man. And so what do you expect is going to be the biggest challenge? Just scaling quick enough?
Yes. I think the biggest challenge will be dealing with the underwater stones, meaning, the companies. One thing, for example, I'm not going to tell what the problem I will think it will be. I don't want to spill all my sauce here.
Okay. Well, I will say though, this is good timing. It's good timing because as we approach the Bitcoin halving, like I know that there's a lot of like hype around the Bitcoin halving and the bull market that might come around, but I guess this is a great time to build this because if you can build it here and now, when the market starts running again and we enter a bull market again, man, you'll be the OG. You'll have this up and running and people will be looking for this service, I think. So I think it's good timing, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the reason why I'm doing it now, because when it's get hot, actually, there's other reasons. The creators are very busy too.
Yeah.
So the relationships have to be built
they're too busy for this. Yeah. And you know what I love about this so far? Every project I talk to or interview, at some point, they're shilling the Web3 part of their thing. And you do what a marketer should. You talk about the pain and you talk about the solution. Problem, agitate, solve. And I really appreciate this. And so I'll ask, is there any Web3 component to this in the future roadmap?
Yes, but reality is it can be done mostly with Web2.
Sure.
And I'm looking at it as remove the most friction. So it is a component for Web3, but reality is, can it be done with Web2 faster, more scalable? Because just adding putting a lipstick on a pig, there's no necessary. Like the reality is, let's make a running, racehorse. Let's make it nice and powerful. Just adding, an extra baggage or a saddle on it.
Yeah.
But yes, there will be Web3 component, which I'm not gonna go into exactly, but it'll be. But I don't want to to me, it's not a Web3 issue. It's a Web2 issue. In Web3 world.
Yes. I love that. I mean, and I did this leadership post on LinkedIn and I was talking about where the market was. And, there's all the hype cycles and that's just going to dwindle over time or go into the dark corners of the web as we mature. And then it's going to look, these companies, I think these Web3 companies are going to look, act, and behave more and more like the lessons from Web 2. And so we're calling it for Web 2.5. And I love the fact that your service, it's there, but that's not what we're selling. We're selling the solution to a pain. And we're
selling solution with your business and you need creators and you're failing because you're not able to get either educational videos or you're not able to scale. You're not able to, you don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
Even if you get connector, if you don't know, you cannot tell them what to do. They will likely fail. So it's like there's so many ways to fail in that process that the issues right now, there are creators. And by the way, I spoke to creators as well. I spoke to some really good creators and they have their own pains. Yeah. And that's going to be addressed in that marketplace because those pains are significant. Sometimes it takes too long to close the deal. And by the time both parties decided. So removing a lot of the frictions or type of deal they want or who they want to work with, it's very hard for them to find people. So it's a really matching the right audience.
That's huge, man. So in parting, let's do some quick parting thoughts real quick. As a marketer, what projects do you watch that are just murdering marketing that you just love to watch evolve?
Oh, I give you an example of the case study that I saw recently that did insanely well, and they just did all the right things. Dgenzu.
I don't even know Dgenzu.
Oh yeah. It's basically Jake Paul launched his something zoo. I don't remember the original one. And then they failed. They spent like $3 million. They said it doesn't work. And the guy, this past January, early January, said, I'm going to challenge it. I'm going to put $20,000 on my money, and we're going to build this degen zoo. And I'm going to show it on Twitter or progress. And then they went from 0 account to over 150,000 on Twitter followers within a month, like 5 or 6 weeks. They built a game within 30 days.
What?
They got massive following, and they did it by, well, like they challenged Jake Paul. They called him out. They called out the engineering firm. They said, we're going to do it. They were transparent. They did the proper buzzing. They did the proper, like, so if you want to see the case study, that was one just like out of nowhere.
Okay, I'll check that out. Well, Art, I cannot thank you enough for giving me this time and just talking to me about the marketing. Folks, if you were paying attention and saw anything of value, if you want to check it out, follow Art on LinkedIn. And then, of course, pay attention to his project, which I think will be massively helpful and disruptive, at minimum in the Web3 space at expressway.io. But Art, thank you so much for being here. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you for having me. It was a real pleasure. And I'm glad I'm able to share, the pain points, because like I know every project has these issues, and hopefully they already solved them. But I also know that how many didn't. And so giving the platform, thank you very much for having me on. It was a real, pleasure. And I hope you keep growing as you do. You've been really, really killing it.
Thanks, man. And Owen says loved it. Thanks so much, everyone.